Hey guys, what's up? You guys hear me good? You guys hear me? Test. Let me see. Make sure my audio's good. Test. Okay, looks good. Well, hey guys, another episode. Just wanted to talk to you guys again. Hope everyone's doing fine. It is Monday, and Monday is a kind of a slow day for everyone. So I'm glad you guys are here. Um, but I finally have some time to myself, so I guess I thought I'd talk about something that's something that I experience on the daily. Me being more of the ethnic variety, Hispanic, dark skinned, whatever you want to call it. Um, so I wanted to talk today about does race matter when you're dating? This is a very contentious question. This question is like one of the hardest things for people to really talk about, deal with, process, because the United States is very obsessed with race in all aspects of life. At least from an outsider's perspective, you go to places like my parents' home country, Dominican Republic, or you go to a place like I don't know, Puerto Rico, anywhere. Um, like you'll see that people of all different skin colors are just hanging out and just living life, and then we endearingly call each other's skin color people by their skin color. It's more of an endearing, like friend trust thing. But in the United States, it's a big deal, and I don't want to get into the political aspect. Of course, we're not here for that. But when it comes to dating, it seems like there's a lot of like preconceived notions, and for people that don't understand what it really is out there, at least for a guy like me, who's not white or not whatever color. Um, and also how it affects like a person that's trying to get to know women, um, and just like the toxic way of thinking that a lot of people online think about, like dating outside of your race, within your race, adjacent to your race. I've dated Puerto Rican women and I've dated Cuban women, and and it's those are I would call that races that are adjacent to mine, because Dominican Republic is right next to those countries, right? And then also like having a preference, um, right? Having a preference too is it's especially as a guy, especially when it's racial or ethnic. Ooh, you better keep that to yourself, because I mean, obviously there's some that are celebrated, right? But for the most part, like it's better to keep it to yourself, because either you how am I saying it right? Fetishize. You're fetishizing, or you're abandoning your race, or whatever it is. So yeah, it's just this is a very touchy subject, but it's Monday and I chose violence. So we have a chat here. Hey kid, how are you doing today? This question gets a lot of people upset. Yeah, I've been on the forums, on the Chan sites since I was a kid, and this is always like a big argument, and people get mad, like And then now that as a mid 30s man, and I go into this kind of like dating scene, and I see like, yeah, there's some truth to it, but also it's not gonna it's not gonna exclude you from the responsibility and also the enjoyment of who you have to be successful and find the girl of your dreams, or three girls of your dreams, whatever you're into, right? But yeah, it's a very interesting topic, and a lot of people don't want to touch it, but I will. So yeah, let's see. Give me a minute here. So, does race matter? Well, the short answer is yes and no. Yes could be, and both could be both bad and both good, depending on how you see it, depending on your perspective and your attitude, um, and your maturity level and also there's past experiences. Like there's gonna be people are very what's the word? They will lean more on relying on their past experiences for to explain things. So biased, I say, yeah, biased. They're more biased based on their past experiences, good or bad. Like if you had a good experience dating a certain type of race or background or ethnicity or whatever, you're probably gonna look back and say, yeah, those are great. Those are great people to date because this, and that. Or if you've had a really bad time with one or two, people from that, you'll be like, hey, you'll even tell people like avoid them at all costs. They're like this, they're like that. Especially as Dominican men, we get a bad rap for being womanizers and dishonest with women, and even in second families. That's very common in Dominican Republic. But there are women that adore us, and it's just you it's not your fault, but also you got handed this reputation and you have to deal with it, right? So we're gonna get into a couple things. Hopefully I don't have too long as I'm seeing the Mario movie tonight. But yeah, we'll get talking to some things. All right, let's see. We got the Royal Banana. Royal Banana says, as a college guy of Indian descent, I can wholeheartedly say yes. The key is to adopt attractive behaviors and to take the right actions regardless. Yeah, well, I'm definitely going to talk about that. That your race doesn't absolve you from doing the things you need to do, become more of an attractive man, and learning game and charisma, and putting yourself in a position to win. Right? It does not, but and also it's not always a disadvantage, and it's also not always an advantage. Sometimes it's just is it doesn't really come into play, And I would say that for women, always there's like just like there's a fan, there's fangirls for whatever hobby you have. There's also fangirls for whatever race you have, and just some races have more fangirls than others, and some races um, have good reputations and bad things that are bad stereotypes and good stereotypes. So you just work with what you have, and I mean, you got to accept the cards you were dealt. Kate Ann says, "I feel like culture is a bigger factor than race. I am very individualistic, and IME, and in my experience, and in my experience, Caucasian men get this more than men from more family oriented or communal cultures." You need to explain that. I'm kind of lost on that. Um, anyways, yeah, let's get into it. So yeah, it is a touchy subject. Because I would say it's very emotional too, especially for guys who are uninitiated with real life and getting out there and seeing how things play out. And also, the country right now is very divided on this subject, right? And for good reason, I would say. And the media definitely has something to play with that, but we're not here for that today. Um, so I will tell you why it's touchy from a male perspective, right? First off, from a male perspective, for the most part, especially me in the beginning, when I first started, I left Puerto Rico and I left the Navy and I started dating, normal here in the United States and here in Dallas. Women, we're one of our innate biological traits is mate guarding, right? Mate guarding meaning that we look at women as almost like property sometimes, and almost like we have to protect them, right? And then if we see women that look like us from our culture and our speak the same language of us, there's this little I need, you want to make guard and push other guys away, and it depends on which race. There's some I've seen men that are like, I don't care what the women that look like me and act like me and same race as me do here in the United States. That's not my problem. But then there's guys that will literally go on the internet and be mad at other races for taking their women when not even the data supports it. You're just mad because you saw an interracial couple online and you think that your race is going to go extinct. Like they take it to the extreme, like most things on the internet. But the data does not show that. However, in your personal life, it could be true based on very specific factors, right? And it's not always. And I understand why it's hard, and I don't blame you at all. I had a period in my life where I was very entitled. I thought, hey, since I come from Puerto Rico, all women that are like Latina and Caribbean, like Cuban, Dominican, and Puerto Rican are going to be automatically into me just because. And it wasn't it wasn't conscious, it was very unconscious. Like it wasn't something that I thought like it was just something that when I dated a girl that looked like me, that acted like me, that enjoyed the same food as me, that lived minutes away from me back home, I thought, hey, she has to be into me. It's almost like an entitlement thing. And then I realized, no, that's just innate men, their own tribe and their own clan, right? So I would say get over that as soon as you can. Here, if you're in the United States, right? You need to let go of that thought that you own any group of women, and you need to stop being tribal, right? That will get you messed up in the head. It will get you bitter, and also it will hinder your success overall with women because it's such a self defeat when you automatically think, oh, all this men from this group are taking my woman, and it's not true. It's just that you get it, you see it online and it's blown up 100 times in your face, and then you see it in the news, you see you see it in, and then sad to say, like, if you look at the data, a lot of like interracial pornography is blowing up, and it's just like I don't get it. Like a lot of guys don't like their women intermingling with other races, but it's the pornography, it doesn't reflect that. Like, the demand doesn't reflect that. So it's like it's a very strange, weird area, and you need to, this is one of those things as a guy you really need to get over. Like, hey, it's a one-on-one thing, and I understand it's a biological innate drive, but you cannot, it's going to hinder you, and it's not going to help you at all. It's just going to mess with your head. All right, we got some chats coming in. Zachary Moore says, if you're gonna broach the subject, go all in. That's what we do here. Oh man, I like the attitude. I think it's more for time because I could talk hours about this. I have stories and all that stuff. I got invited out to go see the Mario movie, so I don't want to stay too long, and I gotta walk. I gotta walk Tadashi. He's already looking at me like, "Where are we going today?" I think, or he's probably wants more food or something. But yeah, thanks. Good attitude though. Um, Anne says, I think white European Caucasian culture is more into individual freedom versus putting family first. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Good point. Like, um, I think I will speak for Latino men that come from Latin America. And our biggest shock here, that I've seen from friends that come here too, is just the lack of community and the lack of togetherness, right? And I've had to explain to friends that come here, um, you know, like, hey, it's not like back home where you can say hi to your neighbors and eventually someone will introduce you their friend or their daughter or something. You have to go out there. Everyone's on their own here. You can't rely on race, or sorry, yeah, you can't rely on community to get to feel like you have you have to really like you have to branch out outside of your race and ethnicity in order to feel that community feel in the United States. Like you need to have you could have my best friend is a white guy and I love him to death. So what if I had the mentality of, oh, I need to have a Dominican best friend or a Puerto Rican best friend or a Latino best friend? No, my friends are my friends regardless, right? And I think it's healthy to look at women that way. That's not to say you're not allowed to have preferences, right? I believe that you as a man, your preferences are your preferences. You shouldn't shake them, right? If you like what you like, then you go after what you like. It's your world. You are the most important person in your life, right? By the same time, understand that this is a game of volume and chance sometimes and timing, right? And if you notice a pattern that your own women don't want you at all, there may be women outside of your race, outside of your ethnicity, outside of your background, culture, whatever, that adore you and love you. And I've experienced that myself. Thank you, Kate. Um, let's be real. Baron Gaslight, welcome. Let's be real. They're mad because they aren't getting any. Yeah, uh, a lot of people that go online and complain about women, they're just expressing their frustrations, and that's okay. Like the internet, it used to be a place where people could just go and just vent and blow off steam, but now it's a place where if you do that, then you get immediately criticized, right? But I prefer men going online to bitch and complain and then maybe someone like a guy like me will give them solutions. Like all the people that are obsessed with race in the dating market, I will hope they can see this video and kind of like not do as I say, but at least think differently. Just try to like think differently. Um, Thank you, Baron. All right, Zachary Moore says it's a common misunderstanding to mistake commonality for attraction. Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. It's a common misunderstanding to mistake commonality for attraction. Okay, okay, I understand that. Yeah, yeah. I feel like I'm low IQ today, guys. I'm sorry. It's Monday and I worked all weekend. But yeah, thanks, Zachary, for the high IQ post. Um, all right, let's move on. Daramo, welcome to the show, Daramo. Nice to see you. Past 5, 7 years, almost all the female attention I've gotten has been from black mixed girls in their 20s. I'm an old white guy. I mean, redneck, biker looking white. Not much info, but any idea why? Y- Darama, you have to understand that maybe you just have it. Maybe you have what they want. And see, it's like here's what I gotta say. Go if do you like black women, if that's what you like, or if you're curious or you just want to try it out, go man. Go have fun. Like don't worry about the why so much. Eventually it will be revealed. Like a lot of truths will be revealed, but not on your time. And I think that if you have that look, you know, that they like, then you know it will eventually make sense later. But for right now, man, just get you some black honeys, man. Thanks for the chat. Royal Banana says, having lived dated in Dallas, did you find the woman reasonably open minded dating outside of their culture? Yeah, in major cities, it's easier to find women that will date. However, as you get higher in affluence, and what I've seen higher in affluence, and the social circles get tighter, and it's becomes more rare to see, the token brown guy or the token black guy, the token, um, whatever race outside of white, you know, and then same thing with Latino families is like the opposite. As Latino families get poorer, they're more struggling. They just got to the United States. You see it, they stick more to their own race. And in the middle, where like, where most of us live, it's whatever, in the city, it's whatever. So I think class affects a lot because, um, you know, we do have dating apps and we do have Instagram, which connect all to different people, right? But like class definitely pushes people towards more of I guess familiarity on the extremes. But that's just anecdotal. Maybe there's data that supports that. But for me personally, I've seen that like poor Latino families will definitely date within their own, and then really rich whatever race will try to stick with their own too. Obviously there's exceptions, but that's what I've seen. It's the middle that's like more of like, whatever, just they branch out, right? Uh, Chad Elkin, CPA. What's up, Chad? For some reason, Asian girls have always been into me, though I've never dated one. I've always been curious as to why. Well, are you a white guy? Because they love white men, and I know it's a stereotype, but yeah, it's true. It's definitely true. Um, Here's another thing I'll tell you, that uh different as a woman, I think the closer, like, race does a lot of heavy lifting sometimes for women depending on who she is. So you could be uh a normal looking, I'm not, obviously I'm going to assume you're a handsome guy, and you're well to do, handsome guy, well dressed. But if you were a normal regular looking dude, skinny, fat, not that attractive, just the fact of your race could do a lot of heavy lifting for you in attraction. And then for me, I could be super jacked, handsome, perfect face, skin, and then because I'm brown, and this is the sad part. This is the part that, like, this is what I'm saying, guys. This is the part where it gets very politically incorrect. Because especially when you're talking about women's preferences, women are allowed to have preferences, but even when it comes to these things, it's still politically incorrect on behalf of women because what we're saying here is that women choose based on race. But is that bad or is that good or is it whatever? So I could be a super jacked 6'2", brown guy, right? Hitting up an Asian girl. And she'll she'll blush, she'll she might exchange messages with me, but at the end of the day, you could be a regular 5'8" white guy, and that's her ideal. And she was willing to put up with lower attraction from that just because the race fits what she wants. And that's hard for a lot of guys for me, for instance, where you know I'll be honest, guys. I get traded in a lot for guys from other races, right? And it's interesting because I go on, when I visit the Fit board on 4chan back in the day, when I started lifting and just for fun and laughs, and there's always a race thread, and it's always guys like complaining that or making fun of or obsessed with like brown and black men taking their women away from them, in a roundabout way or sometimes in a direct way. But then I'll tell you guys, I'm I'm 6'1", I'm like 13%, 13.5% body fat. I am what I am. I have charm a little bit, and I get traded in for different race all the time, and I guess it's because I'm a minority. You can't see it as much, but you guys have to accept that sometimes women have an ideal and they stick to that ideal, and having that ideal in her head, she wants that and she's willing to sacrifice other things just for that ideal, right? And like I said, women will date us out of their race, but if they do, they will have higher standards for that because they're already breaking their ideal. Same thing, and I could say the same thing for myself. There are times where I'm like, I'm not really into white women that much, right? And that's okay. I have my preferences. I like my Latinas, I like my Asian women, sometimes Middle Eastern, right? But that's okay. But when I meet a beautiful white girl, right? Um on the street or just walking around, I'd be like, yeah, she's gorgeous. She meets my attraction floor for that race, right? And then also there's times where there are women that look like from another race, but they're not the race you think. The other day I went to a Selena Quintanilla lookalike contest or like celebration, and I went to with my brother, a buddy of mine, and the bartender, she looked like Selena. She had the bang. She's gorgeous gal. Bartender though, so like how they are, right? And I talked to her, and she turned out she was Middle Eastern, but she looked Latina, like full stop Latina. I was like, I would have never guessed, right? So there's that too. Um, all right, Zachary with another high IQ take. Race manifests itself in physical appearance. It's no different than preferring someone taller or with a bigger bra size. Yeah, guys, and women have their preferences, and that's it. You can't really argue or complain away a woman's preferences. We know that's a waste of time, so we don't do that. But understand that like I've seen I've seen things where like women also consider certain races safer than others, right? Like again, Dominican men, you know, are seen as very um cheaters, players, and I guess a lot of Latin American men are seen like that, but Dominican men I've heard a lot about, especially with from Dominican women. So women already are walking on thin ice, and they know this. Women talk, so when they're with you, so there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of like her friends are gonna be like constantly like, be careful, he's doing this, check on him, all that stuff, and eventually what you're gonna find is that the reputation of your race spreads around really fast, the internet, media, movies, all that stuff. So you're going to have to deal with that, and that's on you to either prove it or disprove it. And whatever you do with that, obviously it's up to you, but sometimes it's not fair, right? And sometimes also it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So yeah, good point, Zachary. All right, Royal Banana again. Hello. I noticed the tweet you wrote on social dancing, bachata, salsa, etc. As a brown man, does joining such activities pre-screen for women who naturally gravitate towards our physical type? Man, you got me with this question. Let me think. And you you said you were Indian descent, right? So you're brown but not Latino. Um, I'm gonna do a show on this. I'm gonna do a full show on this. But to give you the short answer, here's the thing with dancing, right? The dancing scene in the United States. Three things. The dancing scene in the United States is like high school. So there's a lot of gossip. There's a lot of cheating on partners. I mean, not a lot, but there is. Um, there's a lot of gossip, and there's a lot of people sleeping around and all that stuff. So be careful with that scene, right? I would say go out, have dance. Don't get too involved with any women. And number two, usually the dance scene is for women that are. What I've seen the most is women that are older, that are past it, that are older, and they are seeking younger guys. I know because I have a couple in my DMs right now that I met at dance, and I was just trying to be friendly, and they got into my social circle, and now they're trying to hang out, asking me when I'm going, and then in a friendly way, right? But I know what the goal is here. Um, so I would say learning to dance is really good skill to have, but understand that don't expect much out of the dance scene at all. It is I did it for 8 months last year, expecting something to happen, and the only thing I got was drama, older women, which nothing wrong with older women, but like if that's not what I like, right? And it's not as sexy and cool as I thought it would be. It's fun because I get to listen to the music from my country and I get to have margaritas and socialize. I like that. The socializing aspect is what I like. It's really good to get that social muscle strong. But in terms of like seduction, what you're looking at is 3 or 4 girls that show up and then 10 guys. And those 10 guys share those 3 or 4 girls. And those girls will get tired. And then there's jealousy. And all these things, right? And then you also got to deal with the DJ. The DJ soaks up the hottest younger girls, and if you take one of his, one of his girls, he's gonna keep an eye on you, And I will do a whole show on this. I'll write it down, but I will. I am very qualified to talk about this. So learn the skill of dancing and have fun, but don't expect too much out of that scene. Alpha Sloth, howdy guys, howdy Alpha. How you doing today, man? All right. Looks like that. I'm all caught up. All right, let's continue. Where was I? So, like I was saying before, many women prefer their own race, and that's okay too. Like I said back in the day when I was on the Fit forums on 4chan and all these other forums, there was a lot of arguments over this, but the data shows that women prefer their own race, and not only that, that even women from like Latino women, I think per the data, Latino women prefer white men and Latino men the same, you know? And that's why I say about this whole thing, guys. Like, part of the mate guarding, and I don't want people of my race to date other races, and they should like me for me. That's your ego speaking, right? And you guys really need to get over that. I I get traded, like I said, I get traded in for white guys all the time, and I get traded in for Persian guys, and they're not like super tall, suave guys. They're just regular looking white dudes, skinny fat, nothing special about them, right? So what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to like go on the internet and be like, oh, like they hate Dominicans because Dominicans put them in check. Well, no, I'm just supposed to like say, hey, she has a preference, and maybe for Dominican man, she's like, I'll date him, but he better be tall and he better be muscular. He better be this, that. Or I can go with this guy that I really like and I don't have that much requirements, right? And that's just the way it goes. You have to keep your ego out of this, just like every other aspect in dating, and focus, make your ego about like your skills at your work, your skills, as another things, right? But not about dating, because then you're just gonna be angry and in pain all the time. Let me see if I can change this camera. There we go. There we go. Put me in the center more. All right. Alpha Sloth says lots of drama. One too many slump busters. Ha ha ha. Zachary says, how do mixed race women factor into that? Well, mixed race women, it depends on what they identify as. Because I've seen half white, half Asian, half black, half white, half Mexican, half black. All different. They'll lean into what they want to lean in, and you whatever they lean into, that's what they are for the most part. Um, yeah. So um, I will say, s- uh, you want to know to keep like as part of game, you want to see what your race is perceived as on in the popular consciousness, right? Like through um take a look through media, like do an assessment, like if you're Hispanic, but like specifically if you're Mexican, what does the world see you, or what do women, or what does the popular conscious see you as, and that's what you're working with, right? Not and now and let's be careful, like that's not to say let that be your, like, accept that opinion, right? Game still applies, and self-improvement and looking good and doing and looking your best and dressing your best and charm and all that still apply. But like just so you know where you stand, right? And maybe you can use those factors for your advantage. For example, breaking stereotypes can be considered attractive, right? So, maybe you come from a country where the men aren't charming, and they're not charming, they're not funny, they're too serious, they take themselves too seriously. You can be that guy that surprise them with being charming. You don't take yourself so serious, you're not controlling. You break the stereotype, and you can charm her based on breaking the stereotypes of the men that she had to deal with in her own race, right? And see how we're spinning it. We're looking at the silver lining. We're trying to spin things in a positive way. Or maybe you have already attractive factors about you that you're like, okay, well, I have to make sure that these shine because this is what women expect of me. So I should probably, and this can come in any multitude of ways. Like if you're Hispanic, if you're like Dominican or Puerto Rican or Cuban, you may be able to keep a beat and dance really well naturally, right? I am not even that good, but when I go out to dance and I feel the music and I grew up to this music, I light up the dance floor and I have a great time. And I'm leaning in to what is expected of me, but also it comes naturally to me. So that's attractive in itself. All right. Zachary, again, I had a white lady turn me down only to start hitting on a fatter white guy who looked like he just rolled out of bed. It happens, just part of the game. Well, what race are you, Zachary? What's your uh, ethnicity? And I'm sorry, man. Hey, happens to me. I had the girl who I thought was gonna be the one, right? We weren't official. We were just getting to know each other, but it was things were going really well. And 2 or 3 months later, she popped up with a short guy, 6 inches shorter than me, and a virgin. And yeah, it just happens. Criminal order. What's up, man? Women are women. Am I right, guys? Women are women. Very true. Zachary says, I am mixed myself. I have yet to pull one on my own. Yeah, well, like I don't really date by race. I date by whatever shows up and meets my attraction floor. I would say I don't know where you're at skill level with women or your experience, but I would say at first don't worry about race at all. Just get as much experience as you can. And you're gonna realize within all that mess of experience and learning about women that race in the United States, race becomes very, very not important. Obviously, there are certain things that you need in place. Like I personally would like a girl that speaks Spanish, but if I dated an Asian girl, I don't need her to speak Spanish. But if I dated a Latina, I would need her to speak Spanish. See how, like, just like women have different expectations out of a race, men have them too. So it goes both ways. Skyriminal Order says you can be that one guy that does things differently. Exactly. You don't have to take whatever the rest of the world thinks of you and just be a conduit for that. You can just literally be yourself, and then like whatever you like, and if you don't like, you don't like. You're an individual, and that's what a lot of my friends that come from outside the country struggle with, where they think I like these things, she likes these things, I'm this and she's that. Why doesn't she like me? Why isn't she chasing me? Why isn't she trying? Because like I forgot who said it. I think Zachary said it. Commonality, we mistake commonality with attraction, and that'll get you killed. Like in the dating game, you want to understand that game attraction principles still apply. You still have to be smooth. You still have to be funny. You still have to charm her. Logistics. You still have to have a rotation. You still have to perform. Your race is not going to do the heavy lifting here in the United States. There's no culture to back you up, like maybe back at your home country. Royal Banana says breaking stereotypes has been a huge shift for my dating life, along with building demonstrating value in general. There you go, guys. Like whatever, whatever bullshit stereotype society pushes on you through the media. Like if you're Indian, you're probably nerdy, and all that stuff. But what if you're an Indian guy that's jacked and that's funny and has cool hobbies outside of and I have nerdy hobbies too. And then you're like, oh, it should be like, oh, he's not like the others. He's special, and see, you're already standing out. Like again, you have to understand what your race means to the popular consciousness, break stereotypes, and press the ass on the good stereotypes, and you'll win. It's easy. Thanks for that, chat. Half black, half white. Okay. Uh, Alpha Slaw says enthusiasm and a little buzz can be helpful on the dance floor. Skills are a plus, but the bar is pretty low in my experience. Yeah, um, dancing isn't has let me down. Like honestly, when I go, it's just older women that are past it. The younger women get scooped up by the dance instructor DJ, and I can talk 2 hours on this subject, and I will. I think I will do a show on this, but I used to go drink 2 margaritas, 3 margaritas, and dance the night away, and I'd be sober by the end of the night again. So, um, Skyriminal Order with a high IQ post. Commonality is anti-polarity. Polarity is proven to be successful for strong relationships. Yeah, in the United States, that is true. Obviously, they're within the communities. Like here in Dallas, there's this very tight Indian community, and they usually end up with each other, which I've seen. And I have Indian coworkers, and it's it's just that their culture is so tight, and the families are so tight that eventually it skews that way. But for like now, as we move 2023 and all that stuff, like um, there's women that really like um dating outside of the race because they just simply don't want to deal with the problems of their own race and cultural background, and that's okay. I mean, I can't control it. Like I want Dominican women to see me on site and love me, but that's not how it works, right? It's just we deal with what we got. All right. So yeah, we talked about what your race is perceived as, why you should buy into the good parts and break stereotypes on the bad parts, right? Yeah, internet spurgs are obsessed with it. Why? It's because like most things in life, when people are trying to find an excuse not to do the work, and you'll be surprised. Like, and it goes both ways. There's guys that hate when their women date other men from outside their race, and then there's men that wish they can date outside their race, but they don't feel like they have the charm, confidence, logistics. Like a lot of white guys like Asian women, right? And they think they have to travel all the way to Japan or Korea or wherever to get that Asian one. I'm like, listen, man, find out where the Asian girls that you like hang out. Find out where the Puerto Rican girls hang out. Find out where the Dominican girls hang out. Right? Talk to them. Do you actually like them, or are you actually like just going off of what you see on popular media? Talk to a couple of them, game them. Set your dating apps to only that. Try it. Give it 1 or 2 months. Figure it out, right? And you'll find that hey, yes, I do like them. It's just I didn't like them in the way I thought I did, or I like them because they share these qualities that I could find in any woman. But it's just I thought only this race had it, right? So you at the end of the day, guys, you have to touch grass. You have to like experience reality, and if you like something, go after it. And you may find with all that, you may find maybe I didn't like them. I like the idea of them. I didn't really like them, and that's a big coming like that's a big eureka moment for a lot of men. Like, there have been times where like I used to love Puerto Rican women a lot, and I would go on a date with them, and it would be fun. But then I realized, like, as the time went on, I started dating outside my race. Like, I think I like Mexican women more now because Mexican women just seem more open, more fun, and Puerto Rican women seem more this and like that. And if and that's just me. That's a me thing. Bless my Puerto Rican women friends. They're great, but like, man, that's just a me thing. Or maybe I just like them back home and not here. You know, every man has to figure out for themselves, and the only way to do it is to put in the work. So, uh, Alpha Sloth says, I skew toward darker skin. White chicks are okay, but it's not my first choice most times. Yeah, I like my skin color. But if she's Latina, like my mom, and here's the thing, like my mom is white, like she is Dominican, but her skin is white. Obviously, she's tan now because she likes to garden and she's out in the sun a lot. But my mom is white, so in Latin America, skin color isn't that big a deal. But I tend to like my skin color lighter in Latino women. Um, I dated a Mexican girl that was like a little bit lighter than me, and I loved her skin. Beautiful skin, almost flawless. She was. I thought like my friends could. They were like, "You really like her?" And I'm like, "Yeah, she's gorgeous," and that's all that counts, man. Like and to this day, I look back and I'm like, "No, those were just the boyfriend goggles." And I looked at her and I'm like, "No, I still am attracted to her. Like I don't care. I still am attracted to her. Like she's still cute. She's still pretty to me." So women are women. There's plenty for you out there. Ryan's been dark enough to piss off dad is a real thing. Play to your strengths. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna talk about too, like the family and cultural pressures that she's gonna be under and you're gonna be under could affect the outcome too. Okay. Hold on here. Zachary, I wonder what determines a preference for light or dark. Yeah, man, that's a good question. I don't try to think about it too much, but I would say that, like I said before, it could be a prior good experience with your race, ethnic background, or culture. Like a lot of times when I find women that fetishize or really like Dominican men, I talk to them, and it's always, yeah, I've dated a Dominican man before, and this, and that. It was awesome. It just we've put in a good resume, and she enjoyed her time, and then now she sees. And I'm the same way. Like as a young guy, I looked at like Asian women. I was like, like I don't know, I'm not really into that. But then I dated one or two, and I had a really good time, and I really enjoyed my time with them. And now I'm like, now I see them, and I'm like, yeah, I could date her. She's gorgeous. And that just having good past experiences with certain types of women will skew yourself, and I think that's maybe it's a uh, your brain stores that good time, and also like having bad experience with women also will make you kind of like not want to deal with certain types of women too, and that's just the way it is. Like I'm guessing women are the same way. I am primarily Kate answers. I'm probably attracted to dark hair, not light haired Caucasian man, but I like mixed men. My BF's Caucasian, Native American, and Mexican. One ex was half white, half Vietnamese. Okay, yeah. You are what you like what you like, and a lot of that is based on past experiences, based on popular culture. Also, you can be shamed out of not liking someone as a guy. Like um, there was a lot of times where like my first crush ever was on a Filipino girl, a brown Filipino girl in middle school, and I thought she was so hot. And I look at her today, and I'm like, she's all right. But I like Filipino women. Not I don't adore them, but I find them attractive. Um, but that's because I don't know. As a kid, she was the most popular girl in school, and all the guys wanted her, but she treated me really nice. And I think my little seventh grade brain was like, "Wow, the hottest girl is treating me, or the most popular girl is treating me good." Like, and then I guess that gets stored somewhere. So I guess maybe that warm feeling of acceptance comes up every time I talk to one or something. I don't know. Who knows? All right. So, um, so yeah, like I said before, game looks all still apply. You still look your best. You still, if you're short, you deal with it. If you get fit, everything still applies. Your race should be the last chip um in attraction. You can't really rely on it. It'll, because then you get a sense of entitlement. Um, I'm telling you guys, like a lot of Dominican women here in Dallas do not that they don't find me attractive, but I have matched with Dominican women that honestly weren't that attractive, but I found them cute, and I was like, okay, I'm willing to, pursue this, and I get ghosted all the time by them. The most flaky women I deal with are Puerto Rican, and I literally went to high school and college there, and they usually flake on me, or the second, after the first day, they just, you know, and also I've kind of, because of all this flakiness from women that I used to you know, and interact with and live amongst. That's a hard thing for a guy to. So that's why when guys get mad about racial stuff and women and dating, I don't blame them because it takes a lot of like self reflection and like maturity to get over that. So I don't think it's healthy. You should get over it. You should man up and get over it. But overall, you should also take the time out and like I have to explain this to my mom, which my mom is very old school. She grew up in Dominican Republic. She grew up in poverty, and my mom wants me to get with a girl that looks like me, like Dominican or Puerto Rican, same values, same background. She thinks that commonality, like your parents, like arranged marriages, they trying to find someone that's close to who you are because that's how parents matchmake in their mind, right? So when I ever tell her like, "Hey, I went out with this Dominican girl, this Puerto Rican girl," and she's like, "Oh, how'd it go?" She's like, "Oh, she ghosted me. She deleted me off everything without telling me or something." And my mom gets kind of mad because she's like, What did you say to her? What did you do to her?" I'm like, "Nothing, mom. I just took her out to dinner, or sorry, not dinner, but I took her to drinks and we talked, and and she's like, "What is wrong with the women there?" And I'm like, "I don't know, mom. Like, it's not something I want to get into, but." It takes a lot of maturity to look at yourself as a man and be like, "Hey, the women that look like me, that act like me, that eat the same food as me, that enjoy the same music as me, that understand the same kind of a humor as me, that have the same skin color as me, that dance like me, all these things just like me, would prefer a white dude or a this dude or a that dude." And you don't understand why. And that's a hard thing. So guys, if you're in that situation where the women that from your country, or if you're a white guy, you don't understand why a certain girl would choose another race, like an ex or a girl that you're pursuing or something like that. Understand that it's not an easy thing to understand, to swallow, right? Because in our brain we have something of mate guarding and this kind of like ego and this protection thing because we want to protect the women that look like us. We're very tribal, right? So it's very difficult to see women when you're inexperienced, to see women that not for all guys, but for some. If you're going through this, to see women from other races and be like, yeah, it's fine that she can date whoever she wants. But then because deep down it just renders all your culture um and all the things that were ingrained to you as a kid, it renders it uh almost, it makes it irrelevant, because you thought that as part of your culture, it's a covert contract almost in a man's brain when he's very alike another person, and that person is in their tribe, meaning race, culture, ethnicity. Um, and that person decides to go through another tribe to find a lover or a mate. That basically is like that war bride dynamic. I guess maybe lower fashion, or a different angle, but that's what your mind's telling you. So understand that it's natural to feel like that, but you have to get over it at some point. And also, you can be the colonizer and you can go to other races and enjoy them too. Because this is America. There's no rules anymore for anything. This Nothing matters. One second. Oh, I feel like a sneeze coming on. Anyways, yeah. All right, let's catch up. Ah, Alpha Slaw says a cousin of mine is half Latina, and her immediate family insisted that she was Spanish. It's hilarious that the different dynamics that develop. Yeah, it's very interesting. The Royal Banana says, can you usually tell whether a girl is viscerally attracted to your type within the first 10-15 seconds of cold approach? How does one get better at screening for this? It depends on how racially ambiguous you look, or if you're racially ambiguous looking, or if it's really easy to tell. What if you're wearing, like, at the gym? Sometimes this is my favorite hat I wear at the gym, and it has the flag there, so girls can tell. Also, depends on the venue. If you're at a salsa night, it could be seen like, yeah, everyone here is Latino, unless they're obviously white or something like that. But um, never lead with race. Lead with your charm and charisma, and let her find out about your race. Kind of like naturally in the conversation. Alpha says it's a hook, it's a gimmick, but that's the game. Get good at sorting for what you prefer, regardless of what attracted them to you. Yeah. Obviously, there's women that go for you just because of what you are, but that has to be met with game and charisma. You can't just say, "Well, this is what I am. Accept me and marry me." You have to. You got the hook. You got the funnel. They like you. Now, use game, right? And then if you're in the position like me, where like a lot of women from your home country, from your parents' home country, don't really pursue you, or they play super hard to get and want to waste your time. Um, just simply don't deal with it. Accept it. Say, hey, obviously you run your system and you run game on them like everyone else, but understand that, like, there's probably some kind of reason or issue they have. And we could sit here all day and pontificate and talk and analyze, but at the end of the day, you have a life to live, and you don't have time to be dealing with thinking about why a girl doesn't like you. You just move on to the next. The truth will reveal itself, and ultimately, it's not something you should really, stay thinking on. You should move on. All right. Fred Jacob says, marriage seems basically impossible no matter what level you're at in the West, but it makes no sense to have kids without it. No free lunch. Marriage seems basically impossible no matter what level you're at, but it makes no sense to have kids without it. Well, I'll tell you this much, man. Um, there's a lot of dark, hard truths that I'm learning about marriage and what my role is as a dad, right? And I'm only going to say two things. And I think I got these from Rhinestone. And it's like, we don't have children. We sire them. The children belong to the mom, right? So we could be married, we could be the hardworking dad, we could do everything right, but at the end of the day, the children belong to her, and that's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. And number two, let's say she takes your children away. Realize that they're gonna be adults longer than there are gonna be children. So she may have them growing up, and then when they're 18, um, you know you connect with them much better because they're on their own. You help them out. You become the father that they needed, but in their adulthood, and you'll come to realize maybe that the mom was crazy, the mom sucked, and that you were right all along. And they'll forgive you, and they'll maybe they'll dislike the mom. You'll tell them, no, don't dislike your mom. She just didn't know what she was doing, and you'll have a great relationship with your kids. But we need to kind of be real and understand that, hey, we men, we don't own children. They're not ours. We just sire them. But that's a conversation for another day. It's a tough truth to swallow, but it's also very liberating. Zachary says, I guess as a man, there's a million reasons why a woman would reject. Why take it more personally if it's a race issue? Um, yeah, at first I did take it personally because uh not that it was a race issue, it was like an entitlement. Like, oh, she looks like me and she acts like me. We have so much in common because of her culture. Why does she, what am I doing wrong? She should prefer me. But um globalized social marketplace, man. Like I said, the data shows that Latinos like white guys just as much as they like me. Am I gonna cry about it? No. I'm just gonna talk to every girl like it's a new, different girl with no bias. Just and then if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's all we have. Um. So if you guys look, let me see if I can pull it up here. Ah, that's too small. Let me see if I can pull it up with this. Okay, so here we have an article, and I think it's from BBC, where they're showing like I know it's old 2014, that's almost 9 years ago, but I don't think this would have changed much. But if you look at it, you'll see the ratings. I don't know if you guys can see it if it's clear, but you'll see the ratings for what a certain race or ethnicity, excuse me, are rating others, right? And I this is not something you guys should like look at and be like, this is it, this is what it is, you know. Um, I think this is just something to keep in mind, and just for objectivity's sake, maybe you guys see a little better there. Um, but as you can see here, Asian look Asian men rating Asian women 15, Asian men rating black women minus 20% negative. That sucks. Asian men rating Latino women 2%, and then Asian men rating 3%. White women 3%, right? So Asian men prefer their women the most. Um, just like Latino men, we prefer our women the most. White guys prefer Asian women the most. Very interesting. And then women, um, rating men, Asian women prefer Asian men the most, which is surprising. But look how much they prefer white men over Latino men and black men, right? We're in the negative. So, but guess what, guys? I've been with more Asian women than I have Latinas in recent history in the last 2 3 years. You do with that what you want, the information what you want. I think so. I'm not sure. I don't really keep count, but um, I don't let this information kind of change my perspective of my personal life and how things go. But I also, it's very interesting to look at I like facts and I like graphs and things laid out for me very clearly. Um, so black women don't like Asian men. They sort of they don't like Latino men that much. They don't like white guys that much, but they love black men. That's an interesting one. They really complain about black men on Twitter though a lot. Uh, Latino women rating Asian men don't really like it. Latino women rating black men not really into it. Latino women rating Latino men very into it. Wow, that one surprised me. And then Latino women rating white men. See, it's very similar. White women rating Asian men minus 12, black men minus 8, Latino men 1%. Hey, we broke positive. And then white men 19%. So I would say the biggest preference for any like out of everything would be according to this data, which is 9 years old, guys, so you take it with a grain of salt, is Asian women rating Asian men. So Asian women prefer Asian men the most. That doesn't even align with like popular culture and media, which is saying that like Asian men are being left behind. If you see the data here on OKCupid of attractiveness scores, obviously that doesn't mean the outcome was that they started a relationship, hooked up, or whatever, right? But just a thought, you know. Um, let me see. There's something else. Okay, let me share something. The NPR one. This one was interesting. Um, Let me see if you guys see it. Yeah. Bop, bop, bop. Okay, so I think I don't know when this one came out, but I don't think it says old as the as the OK Cupid one. Because OK Cupid, who even uses that anymore, right? I think this is Tinder, if I'm not mistaken. And then these are maybe more. This is more like response rates, right? So we have women to men and men to women on the, or women to men on the right, and men responding to women on the right, and then women responding to men on the left. Okay, so Asian women respond to white men 7.8% of the time. Black women respond to black men 9.3% of the time. And Latino women respond to white guys 5.0% of the time. And white women respond to white guys 6%, 6.7% of the time. Hmm. And these are the highest response rates, right? Notice how Latino to Latino doesn't exist here. It is not in the running for the highest response rates. So that means that I have to get over myself and realize, like, hey, if all Latino men and white men were the same in level of attractiveness, they would pick the white guy. And that's okay. That just means that I have to overcompensate for something. Or maybe this is just data. It doesn't mean anything. Either way, I still have the burden of performance to become attractive is still on me. Here are the lowest response rates: Latino, all black, right? And a lot of black guys will see this and they'll feel discouraged or whatever. But you have to realize that this isn't this is just data. But like, if you're already ahead of the curve, you can overcome this easily. This is not really a big deal. And if a girl doesn't like you, why would you like a girl that doesn't like you back? Um. So yeah. Um. So men responding to women. Okay, let's move here. So men responding to women, uh okay, men responding to women, the highest seems to be black women responding to Asian, black men responding to Asian women. Like, yeah, looks like Asian women are killing it. Look at that. All Latinos, white. I guess it's because Asian women are a smaller minority than Latino, black, and white, and whatever. So when you get hit up by an Asian girl, it's like almost like an exotic, like holy crap. That's probably what it looks like. But yeah, very interesting data points. Just something to consider. But obviously, don't let it dictate your views on dating or something like that. You want to go with an objective mind, and then before you even approach a girl or deal with a woman, you've already worked on yourself so much that race is just either a bonus or irrelevant. All right. As a half black man, I've always found black women the hardest to attract. Well, yeah, then don't talk to black women, man. Only go where you're appreciated. Life will be much better. It's better that way. Dark Knight Dev, hey man, nice to see you here. Same thing most white women date within their own race, but I've been with some. I live in NYC, so lots of Latinos here date black guys too. Just lead with charm, as you said. Yeah, like race is the last thing you want to deal with, or that is um race is the least thing you want to deal with. Or sorry, it's the thing that you want to. It's the last chip, like charm, attractiveness, logistics, or all that stuff is more important. Your race is something that comes in later, and you have to learn how to make your race attractive or defeat the stereotypes of your race. But that comes later. That's something that you do on your own. Um, Alpha says, I don't have any experience with black women, but the reputation precedes them. Not that it would stop me from approaching, but it might raise the bar. Yeah, I don't really prefer them. Um, but I know guys that do, or guys that don't mind, or something like that. But I'm not gonna. I have no comment on the matter. The data speaks for itself. Fred says dating and hooking up are two different things. A lot of white men just fuck white women just fuck blacks and they'll never hang out and public shows right and black. Okay, yeah. So I've heard, and it depends on how you feel like that. Like I personally, I kind of understand if I'm dating one of like one of these higher class white women and they don't want to date me seriously. Like it's not something that offends me. In Latin America, racial comedy and racial insults don't really hold a lot of weight. We don't really care. We just laugh it off. Um, but I could see how like any a guy would not want to date a race that doesn't want to be seen in public with them. Like I understand that. That makes sense. But you that's for you to decide how you feel about that. I personally like to be shown off. Obviously, if she's hot enough, then I won't care. Being hot is the girl's ultimate bargaining chip, right? But personally speaking, I like being shown off, and I like women. I just like having a normal relationship with women, whether it be casual or serious. I don't want to have to deal with this. But that's just me. Hold on, I need some light in here. Um, Fred says Asian women are the least fat. Yeah, per the data, that is true. I'm not gonna lie. That is true. However, there are some chubby Asian girls out there, but for the most part, they are. But the problem is that they're not as curvy, and I like curvy women, right? Which why I put it in my thread, in my dating thread, that there is thick Asians and to not give up, and there are. And the thing is that like Vietnamese women, um, have the capacity to be curvy women, right? I think you can't beat out a Latina or a black girl, but they do meet that threshold for me. And also they're just good gals. I don't know. I've had some races just every time you date them, you have a good time. There's just nothing bad to say. And that's what affects your preferences too. Like I mentioned before. Royal says, "Did you find much success with day game as a Latino man in Dallas? Are you chatting up women as you go about your daily business?" When I say day game, when you say day game, I take that as like like if I'm at a coffee shop working and I see a cute girl next to me, then I'll see her. Or if I'm at a club and or a bar, and I would say, um, I live in the inner city, downtown, and I will say personally, I don't even notice it. Right? I've worked on myself so much, and I've put in the work that if a girl happens to like me for being Dominican or Latino, it's like it's like the last thing in that line of a track of me showing off, first is game, then it's presence, and then it's the way I dress, my lifestyle, my past, my like all these things come before, and then Dominican's like, oh, you're Dominican too. Obviously, there's probably women that like me because of it. They just never told me, but I would say at the end of the day, it's just charm and game isn't first thing. I don't even day game that much. I'm starting to talk to more women in public, but I haven't been going out as much. Daramo says high 90th percentile of all races end up marrying their own race. Is that in terms of IQ or like money? Can you be more specific on that? Governor Megatron, hello, Governor. One of the earlier girlfriends I had was slightly heavier Filipina girl, had the capability to be very courage, but she got lazy over time. Yeah, Filipina girls, they're built very curvy. If they take care of themselves, look amazing. But obviously, this is America, and um, sugar, Starbucks, and fast food wins most of the time. So yeah. Uh, Zachary says curvy's a tricky one. The same habits that make her thick will now make her fat later. Yeah. When you start dating a girl, the first thing you should like, and you're serious, you should start helping her cut back on her shitty habits right away. Like you should make it pretty obvious that you're not going to tolerate her getting out of shape. Obviously, if she has kids, if she has your children, or injuries, or just an extra 15 pounds, you're not going to leave the woman of the love of your life over that. But you should establish your boundary. Like, hey, I have to have sex with you for the rest of your life. Can you at least you can do is make yourself attractive, right? Make sure that she knows that implicitly, maybe explicitly if you have that type of relationship, but mostly implicitly. So yeah, moving on. Um, so there's always going to be also outside pressures. Um, you know, there's going to be disapproving parents that like if you're dating a girl, she might not she might um her parents might not be warming up to you, and that can be discouraging, right? Like you could be, let's say I'm a brown guy and I'm dating an Asian girl, and her parents are doctors or something like that, or they came from China or Japan or whatever, and then they don't hate me, but they just look at me like, really, like this guy, you know. Meanwhile, I have like two, uh, uh, another big booty that's like obsessed with me, and her parents love me, you know. It's like you're gonna get pulled into that direction of where you're loved and cared for, and you're building a second family, so that's understandable. Like when race, sometimes there's just things you can't control. And I personally, when I'm dating a girl seriously, I like to be welcomed by her family fully. Life can get pretty lonely, and all my family, I don't have much family here in Dallas, so if I'm dating a girl, I think one of my favorite parts of dating a woman seriously is like being accepted by her family and just gaining that care and love and trust from a second family, so that's most a lot of men don't need that, but I personally don't want to deal with disapproving parents if I don't have to, unless she's an amazing gal, yeah, cultural clashes, like I said before, like for example, Latino culture, we're very loud in your face, very touchy feely. And then like maybe an Asian family, they're quiet, very reserved. Personally, I'm reserved, so I don't have trouble with this. But like, the Latinos would like to party, especially Mexicans. You're partying, loud music, and all that stuff. Or you're a white guy and you're just really chill and relaxed. Then you go to a Mexican, you want drunk, and a lot of guys like that, but a lot of it's too much. Like, I can't do it. Like this is too much, And obviously, by the time you get to that point, you might have some real for meeting her family and dealing with all that stuff, but it is a factor. It does affect. So keep that in mind. Um, that outside pressures and cultural clashes do exist. Um, let's see. And then ultimately, the number one question is, how do you how do you feel about your race, and what is important to you? What do you like? Do you like white girls? Do you like Asian girls? Do you like black girls? Do you like Latino girls? What do you like? Sit down yourself. If you don't know yet, experience it, go out, try it out, and you're gonna realize like this is what I like, and it's not gonna change. And it is what it is. So I gotta do what I gotta do to get what I like. And that's the cool thing about being a man. We're able to get what we want simply by putting in effort. We don't have to wait on chance or wait for someone else to give it to us. So make sure that in terms of race, it may not matter. You may be like, I don't care. If she's hot, and that's it. She could be from Africa, she could be from Australia, she can be an alien. I don't care. As long as she's hot, hot is hot. I don't care. And then, or you're like, hey, I need her to speak Spanish. Like for me, I need her to speak Spanish. If I get with a Latina, I need her to speak Spanish, which isn't too hard here in Dallas, right? Because this is Texas. But I couldn't date a Latina. She'd have to be a 9 out of 10 for me to date a Latina that doesn't know Spanish. Like that's tough, right? I need you, and that's just me. That's just my preference, and that's a cultural thing. Like I think speaking Spanish is a way she could connect to her family back home. If I ever retire and I want to live in Latin America, then I want her to be able to be part of the culture and not have that um, that wall up, that language barrier. So know exactly what you want, which is really hard nowadays for young guys to understand that they what their preferences, what they want, because they listen to a lot of outside pressures, and a lot of young men get shamed for literally having any modicum or any shred of standards or preferences. But fuck them. It's your life. You live it how you want, as long as you're not hurting anyone. And if you like what you like, and you're gonna, there's something really cool and really makes you really confident when you go after what you want. You find the girl you like, the way you like her, and you're walking next to her, and you're like, man, a lot of people told me that this would never work, or I should not enjoy this race, or I should stay away from her. This is, like, I have girls back home in Puerto Rico. They're like, oh, you should get yourself a nice Puerto Rican girl. And I'm walking next to a gorgeous Vietnamese girl or a gorgeous Middle Eastern girl. I'm like, nah, I do what the fuck I want. Like, it's my genitals, it's my heart, it's my time, it's my money. I do what I want with it. So I'm sorry that me being with a girl that's not like you affects your ego. That's nothing. It has nothing to do with you. This is my life. So you have to think about it that way. You like what you like, and you have to push the gas on what you like. And if one day you experience that, you're like, hey, I really thought I liked this, but I didn't. And I actually like this. That's okay. That's that's okay. You as a man, you have time. You have time to fuck around and find out. Um, and like I mentioned before, like going back to my friends that come here, that entitlement they have for women of their own race. Understand that there's this mystical force called feminism that ends up taking women and sort of all turning them into the same type of women, right? Eat, pray, love, um, super liberal, uh, super high standards, and this is the hardest part for me because I've dated women, Latino women that are teetering. They're teetering on whether being going after that traditional Latino man that like their father, that that the family oriented guy with a family structure and all that, or teeter to the other side where it's like liberal and girl boss, and it's right there, and especially. And this is one of the saddest things that I realized. Like, you see these girls that um have come from other countries, right? Or their parents came from immigrated here, and they grew up with the customs, the culture of the family, of their family, and of their culture. They grew up with that, and they speak the language. There's a lot. They understand their culture and they enjoy it and they love it. But feminism, hoe culture, whatever, what have you, takes a hold of them, and you see women that um want all the benefits that their mother had from a traditional marriage, right? But none of the responsibilities, and just taking L's like their mother did to be in a relationship. And I see this all the time. Like, there's women that won't pay. They'll be in a relationship with you and they won't even pay for a coffee. That's fine. That's a tradition. I'm a man. Traditionally, I'm supposed to pay for everything, but they won't even like make you a breakfast. They won't even help you with chores around the house, even though they're in your house, using your toilet, washing their hands, eating your food. They just don't do anything. They don't understand that there's both sides to an equation here. So, it sucks because you're like, culturally, you're what I want. You speak Spanish, you um you're you look Latina, you look like me, we enjoy the same music, we can go out dancing. Um, you check a lot of boxes physically, but like, you're a feminist, 100% feminist. You're just latching on to the things that don't require you to make any sacrifice in a relationship. And that's sad. That's something that really kills it for me in a lot of relationships. And then you have women that the eat pray loves that eat pray love shit is taking over United States, where like, I know I see women doing like these trips by themselves, to like not dangerous countries, but like, like Guatemala, like, or something like that, right? Like, by yourself. And I'm like, obviously maybe there's a guy involved. Um and they tell you these things, and one of the big disadvantages is being a Latino man, right? Like, raised in Latin America, is that we're very we're beat it's beat into us to be traditional men, providers, all this stuff, and not controlling, right? Women say we're controlling, but um providers, and to like keep our women in check and let them do anything crazy and be protectors, right? It's so sad when I'm like dating a younger girl that she doesn't want anything with me. She's in her eat, pray, love era, or she's in her whole phase transitioning to the eat, pray, love era. Um, right. And I'm looking at her like, hey, you double down on the wrong side of that equation. Your father is a business owner. He immigrated from Mexico and he's built himself up. Your mother was always taken care of. She raised two boys and you, and you're planning a trip to Guatemala by yourself. You're 25 years old. You're banging me and you're probably banging another dude or whatever. Like you are literally not even Mexican anymore or Latina or Asian or whatever you are. You're not any of that anymore. You've foregone all your customs. You've only latched onto the ones that are cool, like the food and the dance, things that give you clout and respect, but the ones that honoring your family, being a good housewife, a good cook, all that stuff, that is gone out the window. So again, when you're out searching for girls and you think for a second, hey, like I want the women like my mother who are traditional like my mother, and you go out and you see these women and yeah, not even close. Like they speak and talk like your mom. Yeah, they enjoy the same music as your mom, but they won't even boil an egg for you. You can pay for everything, you can be the man of their dreams, but they don't bring anything. And that's a hard realization for for a guy. It was a hard realization for me. And then let's say I date an Asian girl and she's like, I'm gonna make I'm she's making me a new recipe every 3 or 4 days. And this is no title. This is no boyfriend title. She just said, I want to cook for you. I want to make you some boba tea. I want to make you some tea. I want to make you some curry. And that's going to be a really part of a man's life. At least for it was for me. Where I have to do, I was starting to look. I'm like, personally in my life, the Latino women I dated were tended to be more wanted to party, didn't do anything for me except show up, blah blah blah. The Asian women, yes, they wanted to party too, but they knew how to be girlfriends. And this doesn't have to be Latina Asian. It could be white black. It could be Asian white. Like whatever you like race you really liked and you were focused on, and then you just kept getting disappointed until one day you dated outside of your race just to try it, and you're just like, oh, I was so focused on a girl that looked and talked and acted and enjoyed the same music and came from where I'm from that there were other women outside of that simply treated me good and I was happier and the relationship was more fun and I felt happier and the sex was better, whatever parameters you want to use. And then you ended up, you know, um wasting time. And that's what I say, like, what do you want? Do you know what you want? You know what race is best for you? Do you care? These are things you have to go fully aware of. Are you curious, or do you only mess with the race for fun, just like women only mess with certain races for fun? You know, are you set that you want a girl that looks and talks and acts like you, culturally speaking? These are questions that you need to know before you go into it and realize the pros and cons. Because I realized it very late in the game, you know, and it didn't take me till like the other day, like last year or a couple months ago, where I had a girl that wasn't Latina in my kitchen cooking for me, um, teaching me how to cook because I wanted to learn, right? I like to cook sometimes too, and making me feel special, important, appreciated as a man. She also bought me lots of gifts for Christmas. And honestly, if I ever see her again, or I don't even care. I will treat her like a queen. I probably won't get in a relationship with her because she left me, right? But like, I have never gotten that treatment from a Hispanic women ever, and I ran the same game on them, right? And that's when you have a man have to get a decision. Like, wow, sometimes it just comes down to race doesn't really matter. It's just who's better as a girlfriend. Who will I be happier with? Will my children? Does it matter how my children look like? Does it matter that much? You know, maybe they'll still be attractive if I race mix. That's a question that you should always ask yourself before, and good way to find out is just by going out there and experimenting and finding out what you like, right? Let's see. The Royal Banana says, "Have you encountered many Slavic, Russian, Ukrainian, Polish women during your time in Dallas? They tend to appreciate the tan look in my experience." No, not really. I don't know where they're at. I don't know where they stay. They're very rare. Um, Maybe tourists, but I I have no data on that. I from what I've heard, they fetishize it. It's like a fetish. It's not really like they prefer us, but could be wrong. Daramo says, "I meant only about 10% of marriages in U.S. are interracial, interethnic. I just worded it weird before. Oh, okay. Uh, 10% of marriages. Yeah, that'd be something interesting to look into. Um, with statistics, you have to be careful because there's a year it got taken. Things have moved so fast, especially in dating and mating and all that stuff. Also, um, maybe interracial couples tend to have children out of wedlock but still stay with each other, or there's a lot of things in there. But I believe this statistic. It makes sense. I personally do not. Femininity and me being content in a stress-free relationship matters more to me than race. But there are just certain races that I just do not prefer unless they're very, very hot. Just like women, there's races that they do not prefer. But if a hot guy of a race she doesn't prefer shows up, attractive is attractive, and she'll consider it. But she'll have a uh, higher standards for that guy, and that's just the way it is. Mm, mm, mm. Governor Megatron says Russian women are awesome, but really rare. They're the most traditional I've ever experienced. Yeah, so I've heard. I've heard that, and they're aggressively traditional. They make sure they're traditional, but they ensure that you are completely traditional too. Like there's no like you have to take up the mantle of traditional husband. Um, there's no like gray area. It's like you're traditional, you're not. Royal says you have to take the lead with them a lot. Can't afford to be indecisive or they lose respect for you. Yeah, that is true. Um, these are all things that I've heard, and if you guys are corroborating it, then I believe it. I definitely believe it. All right, I don't have much left, guys, on this topic. Um, just heed the lessons. Don't make race the number one thing you have to offer or your identity when it comes to dating women. Keep it open. Lead with charm, charisma. No, and if when you're choosing what you like, know exactly what you like and why. And if you're not sure, you go out and find out. Um, and there's nothing wrong with saying I want this or I'm not gonna. I want this and that's it. And I'll have fun with other races, but I want this to marry or for serious LTR. But in general, that might not be the case, and you don't know it yet. Um, give yourself the opportunity to meet women from different backgrounds, and you might be pleasantly surprised, or you might be double down on your decision. Like, yep, I've experienced women from all these backgrounds, and I'm okay. I'm okay with staying within my race, and just realize the challenges that come with dating within your own race and what you're giving up, pros and cons, like everything else, and then push the gas and do what you got to do. Figure it out. I'm sure you will. If you're watching content like this, then you're in the process of trying to figure out how to do that, right? Um, oh, sorry. I dated a couple Slavic girls. Their English was rough, and most dudes were intimidated by them. All I had to do was try to understand them or talk to them. Sadly, short term, but it was fun. Yeah, man. Have fun. World's your oyster. Like, go out and experience women. Like, I'm, I am talking. I like to talk to women from different races, and it's just fun. Even if they turn me down, it's just learning about other cultures and how they are and stuff. It's interesting. But yeah, guys. Well, that's all I have for today. Um, I'm glad that you guys tuned in. Very active in the chat. I appreciate that. This Monday night, you guys could be doing anything else, but you're here. So I appreciate you guys' time watching me. And if you have any video suggestions or questions or anything like that, just write in the comments below. Um, and you can and I'll address them. This is a very touchy subject, but I just want to clear the air on this subject, and me having dated different races and not telling you, hey, date this race or date this race. I'm telling you, you date what you like, but here's what happens. Here's the problems you got to deal with, and here's the pros and cons. And that's what I want you to think. I don't want you to choose based on some random guy on the internet. I want you to make the decision ultimately, and you understand the consequences, which is the best way to think, right? So, guys, follow me if you haven't. Follow me on Twitter. Which is down below. And then follow me on Twitch, which is basically my name backwards, which is Twitter or twitch.tv nuclear Caulillo. And we'll keep up with the content, man. And I'll be talking about topics like these to clear the air. Take it from me. A lot of people don't have the experience. And I'm telling you right now, look at my eyes. I have the experience. I will tell you exactly what it is. No masculine bravado, none of this email funnel marketing bullshit. Obviously, I will start at a Patreon soon for coaching, and I will give you guys really in depth and personal stories and all that stuff, the nitty gritty, right? That I can't really put out in a video on YouTube or on Twitter, right? But um, this is real. This is coming from my heart, and I'm telling you guys, like, if anyone's trying to tell you what to think rather than how to think, be very careful. All I'm doing is trying to tell you guys how to think, right? So thanks for the comment. You guys are very active. I appreciate it, and just follow me, and you guys have a good Monday. Signing off.